happy to see you, man.
Honestly, it's
good.
really good.
I can't believe it.
What's going
They're
on?
saying I cancelled the Chemtech Drake.
This guy.
Am I cursed?
No.
No, look, dude, it was like...
No, I think I am
it's one
cursed. It
mistake.
feels like the universe is just gonna know me as the cancel boy forever.
Okay, Droll. It's.
I'm gonna go stream.
I feel for him.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
It's not. I wish there was something we could do to just show him that it wasn't that consequential.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. I may have something for that. Yeah, I actually just got this Hextech Echo Multiverse Chrono Breaker. Yeah, but I mean, for short, it's just HEMPK.
I'm sorry, what?
HEMPK. Yeah, it's supposed to take you into the multiverse so you can see different realities and different K-Drolls.
Where did you even buy something like
eBay,
this?
dude.
How does it work?
I'm not exactly sure, but they did say that whoever made it has 200 years of experience, so you can't go wrong. Had great ratings.
So if I
Yeah.
turn this thing on, I will go see another cage.
Yeah, it's voice activated. Give it a try. Safe travels.
Take me to another cage. Is it? It's supposed to smell like burning? Oh wow! In this universe, he's not even a pro. He's just flipping burgers.
Burger Boy, you're getting behind on the orders. You need to move them off the screen. The customers are waiting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well at least if he's not playing League, there's nothing he could possibly.
Did you just cancel all of the orders? Dude, what are we supposed to do?
Okay, Hemk. Next universe.
I have a flight today.
Obviously. Where are you flying today, sir?
I'm flying to Berlin. My team made the LEC playoffs.
I don't know what any of that means, but let me check.
He actually did it. In this universe, he made playoffs. Well done, Mark.
So what's your name again?
Mark Lamont, I should be on the list.
Have you checked in online?
Checked in online last night.
Okay.
Flying today, playing tomorrow.
All right, Lamon. Oh, okay, I got it right here. Wonderful, found your booking, lovely. But it does say here that you failed to check in. You actually canceled your flights today.
I cannot cancel my flight.
Yeah, I have it right here, unfortunately.
But I'm playing tomorrow. When's your next flight?
I mean, I can get you on the earliest flight, which is next week.
Next week?
Earliest.
What? I'm supposed to be playing in the playoffs tomorrow.
I really do not get paid enough for this. Next. Unbelievable. Today is the day we upload the beta. League of Legends will be released into the world. Oh, people are going to look back on 2009 and marvel at what we have done. Are you coming to the party?
And I have some work to finish.
But the party is,
Oh, have fun. No, I'll be there later.
Okay, well, we're going to finish the countdown and we'll see you at the party, yeah? Yeah, cheers.
Whoa, Cage Rush from Riot in this universe? This is awesome. He's starting at the beginning. Maybe he could learn so much more about the game. He could even be a champion one day. Okay, so he's the cleaner. Well, at least he has a hand. Of course.
Oh, you're back. Well, how was it?
Well, it works, but it's a nightmare. He's the best Cage Roll by far, if you can believe it.
I know I barely, but oh God, poor lad.
In one universe, he even stops League of Legends from existing entirely.
No League of Legends at all? Imagine the time we'd have.
All right, I got 2 double cheeseburgers, side of fries, and a vanilla milkshake.
Order up. Welcome to Berlin, Germany, home of the LEC and week 5 of the 2022 spring season. The race for playoffs is officially on tonight as we start the second half of the regular season with a clash between Misfits Gaming and Team BDS. I'm Shox, and joining me today are Dracos and Kadril. Luckily, we found ourselves back to, I think, my favorite reality.
I don't know, I kind of like the one where you made playoffs but missed your flight. That one was really
I kind of like the burger flipping one. I was enjoying that.
Yeah,
I was really good at it.
The one where we're flipping Oh, no, the one where you're flipping. That's fine with me, too.
Yeah, it was cool.
Maybe there's one where we're both working together as burger flippers.
Hey, that is the future. I just got to say, super happy to be back. You all have been doing an amazing job, and we're going to make it a banger weekend indeed.
I mean, it's not the same without you. It's good to have you here. I had to stand in that position. I don't know how you do it every week. You have to listen to these guys talk. So you
Yeah,
listen
it's
to
crazy.
Us. It's got to be a struggle
I
sometimes.
know. And luckily, not only am I back in the LEC studio, so are the players. Starting this week, we've got teams back in the studio. We already just saw Misfits and BDS making their entry, and it's nice. It feels a bit back to normal.
Oh, it's fantastic. I think the stage experience is so important, especially so many new players coming into the league. And when you think of Worlds, you play on stage, so why not get as much experience throughout the entire year as possible?
And even past just that, it's just exciting. It's just hype. You get to see the players coming in. It makes me so happy. It makes me feel so nostalgic for when we had an audience. And, you know, every time we do something like this, it feels like it's one step closer back to, you know, the
Normal.
peak live experience.
peak
We want
live
people here cheering. And, you know, we're getting closer and closer to that.
That we do. So let's take a look at the standings after the first half of play. Now, I gotta say, I missed a couple of weeks and I came back and I feel like nothing has changed whatsoever. Rogue is, well, undefeated, but doing well in the regular season. Astralis is dead last. Misfits is in the middle. Vitality's in the middle. I mean, what's actually changed?
Yeah, I think if you look at summer 2021 and you look at this, it's basically the same thing. If you take Schalke out and put BDS in and mix it up a tiny bit, Charlotte's at the bottom, of course, it's a massive fiesta in the middle. I think Mad Lions, Misfits, Vitality all fighting. XL and BDS want to get in there, but the top three look dominant.
But it's the context. Like last summer was a costume party. This time around, it's got some 80s theme. So there's still some differences here. And I think the big one when you talk about it is Rogue. Because yes, Rogue's still super dominant in best of one, but it's not the same form that we saw before. Last year, it was a lot of Inspired, a lot of Hansama, 2v2 killing in lane, that kind of domination. And while they're still super dominant, so much more of it is coming from their new jungler, Malrang.
Yeah, and Elyoya actually said in his interview, I believe, that I read today, that he thinks this Malrang playstyle is good at the start of the split, but when teams start getting better and figuring it out, it will put him very far behind. I mean, he's giving up so much resources to make sure the team can get ahead so far in the early game, stabilize the lanes, that it does affect the jungle a lot, and when it's going to be punished, it could come back to bite them.
Yeah, it's so incredibly different from when Rogue played around Inspired and his jungle timers and his jungle tempo, and now Malrang's like, no, I'll play around all of you guys. I like that Elyoya said it, he spiced it up, but I want to look at it as the glass is half full, because I know we have the tendency to say, oh yeah, regular season Rogue, wait till playoffs, whatever, but I think we need to give them the credit, you know, they have come out as the best team at the beginning of the split with the changes they've made. Look at those early game stats, it's great, and I think we have to celebrate it.
Yeah, and while Malrang is consistently playing the same way every game, the rest of the Rogue has been freed up. You've seen a lot of different draft styles, you've seen a lot of different emphasis on different players. Otawamne is not just playing tanks, he tried an Akshan game as well. We're seeing more from Larson, so across the board, it feels really solid. Yes, we want more from Malrang in the jungler eventually, but for now, we're seeing a great face for Rogue.
It's just, you know, it's typical that we're always like, oh, we want more, we want a different. No, this is great. They're 9-0. This is really great. Talk to me about the back-to-back champions then, the Mad Lions, also with huge changes coming in with FLICKR and Unforgiven now, Mark. What's the tally so far?
Yeah, big changes on their carries, of course. We know mid and bot, so important when it comes to the mid to late game. Early game can always be established by your jungle support, communication there. They're obviously the roles that talk the most. But when it comes to mid to late, you have to pick and choose how you want to play the game based on what champions you have, of course. Elyoya also said in another interview that now that Humanoid's gone, it's very hard for him to figure out what he wants to do in the later stages of the game, because him and Humanoid were basically the shot callers of the entire team. He would talk to Humanoid, Humanoid would talk back. They bounce off each other as to how they want to dissect and play out the game. But without that voice, he's trying to become a leader himself now.
Absolutely, but I think while we're waiting maybe for that voice of leadership, we have seen some incredible individual skill from Unforgiven. I think we have to highlight how well he played again. This was a guy that came out of nowhere, wasn't even on our radar for people to join the LEC, maybe thought he'd move up in the ERLs, but he's played fantastically so far. We've seen a lot of different champions from him, and he's carried very well when given those resources.
I mean, a great start overall when you look at those changes, and then the super team of Vitality. It can go one of two ways with super teams, and I feel for now it's just been kind of standard? Is that in the middle?
Yeah, it's been, well, it's up and down. I think the scoreline says in the middle, but the reality is up and down. Last week, the Astralis game was rough. Their week 1 was an absolute disaster. But if you believe in Vitality, you're probably willing to put aside those little hiccups and look at the huge positives that we've seen. It has not 100% delivered on the super team dream, but there have been some shining moments.
I mean, they have basically insane firepower in every lane you look at, basically, right? So when it comes together, it'll come together well, and it's slowly getting there.
Still some early games that need a little bit of work. I also want to talk about a surprise for me, at least, which was Misfits. Also with some changes, I think notably that jungle, Razork leaving, of course, was a big hit. But they have, for me, performed very, very well. I would say better than expected with those changes so far.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the Misfits formula last year, it was Vander and Cobber. You guys chill in bots, we'll play topside. Razork gets here at the head. That translates to mid. Happy days, our topside will win us the game. But now it's much more VTO-centric. Schlatan's farming up. VTO is basically on an isolated island now where you might think he's playing TF or Orianna, Victor, Corki, these mages. No, he's playing Sylas, Akali, LeBlanc every single game. He had a Yasuo game where he had 14 kills against SK, I believe. This man is carrying Misfits across the finish line half the time.
Absolutely, and it's so crucial while we're waiting to see Herit find his form again. He has been struggling a little bit while Schlatan is waiting to find the same confidence he did on this stage as he did in the ERLs and the same impact. The fact that VTO is performing so well, that he's outmatching the opposition so consistently is what has kept Misfits in the running in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, growing into that role as the leader on that team. We'll talk a little bit more about VTO later as they are in the first game of the day. But since the race for playoffs is on, we decided to do some motivational speeches for the teams and players fighting for those top 6 spots, and maybe they need some help. So what we're going to do is going to spin the wheel of wisdom and give a pep talk to whoever it lands on. Who wants to give the first pep talk?
Go on, Drake. I
can give the first pep talk.
Go ahead and spin the wheel.
Do I?
Spin the wheel. What players are going there? We got Alphari, Zanzara, Gilius, Syncroft.
Syncroft. Nice.
All right, how's this work?
So
Where am I going?
I'm going to say start. You have about 30 seconds to absolutely, give the motivational speech to make sure that BDS and Syncroft start winning again.
Got it. Let me know.
Go.
Are you ready? Syncroft, I'm not going to lie to you. You've been ELO held. You've actually been outmatching jungle opposition, yet you've found a way to lose games alongside your team. You need more from your top laner. You need more from your mid laner and probably your bot lane too, but you're doing great. So don't install Lost Ark. Uninstall WoW. Focus on League of Legends, because if your teammates eventually step it up, you, sir, could be a champion. You've been doing great so far, kiddo. Keep going. Keep swinging. You're actually not that young. I don't know why you called you kiddo. That came off very weird. But Syncroft, I believe in you. You are a monster. Unleash yourself on stage and get a little bit more from your teammates.
Go, little rockstar.
Go, little rockstar. What a great beard also. Yeah.
Just great beard.
Wonderful.
It's the beard. It's
awesome.
Production knows.
And they are in the studio, so hopefully he's watching that live and getting that information. Fantastic. Second motivational speech will be by Kadril. Let's spin the wheel.
Who we got? It's lots of junglers
Who
on
would you
here,
like, actually? Yeah. Would you prefer jungler or?
Ooh, Gilius.
Gilius.
Now, Gilius is struggling. The team is not performing. They made playoffs last year, and we know God Gilius is a god amongst men. But right now, I feel like the junglers are looking at him like a bit of a peasant. So let's get some carry in there. Let's first pick Lee Sin. Your Lee Sin performance was fantastic against Astralis. The playmaking, the Baron steals, the big plays on Schalke. He needs to find the miracle magic he once found once upon a time and install it, inject it into SK, and get some wins on the board.
Good thing is, Kick is no longer near,
Yeah.
Also,
like,
role swap to support now.
Also, that music is so emotional. That was like a tender Disney song.
Yeah, it was very nice.
It was just, ooh.
I love it. I think it's very inspirational. For the last one, I'd like to spice it up. I'm going to say switch. And then every time I say switch, the other person has to take over. Okay? Spin the wheel one final time.
Caps is in there.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Caps there, actually, because it's not really... Ooh,
Alphari.
All right, Dracos, you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. How are we going to share a spot? Or are we going to go back and forth?
I'll just take it.
All right, Alphari, I'm not going to lie to you. You were in NA. It's hard to know what to expect from you, but you're doing pretty well so far. Just do me a favor and check those brushes next time you play Astralis.
And when Selfmade comes top, the 2v2s aren't going in your favor. So maybe let's go for a 3-man play there. Let's get more resources up there because the carry potential is great. The pushing lanes are great. Let's get more counter picks on red side.
Alphari, I need you to just instill that alpha mentality. Get your jungler up there and do good work. I don't want low jungle proximity games. I don't want you to sit on an island. I want it to be the Alphari show.
Jace, just get as many Jace games as possible. I like the GP, I like the carries. Alphari, you've done it before. We've seen the SKT miracles. Do it again.
And Finn, okay. Oh, wow. Really? Not Finn. No, like Fat. No, like in French.
You're
like
handsome.
Fat.
You're
like
talented. You were the least disappointing import in the first week. True.
Oh, gosh. You know what? I never
true.
really realized that it's Alphari. Like Alpha? right?
Yeah.
For all the alpha dogs out there, this is someone to look up
Makes
to.
his opponents go ree.
Amazing. All right, so thank you so much for that. Now, tonight our teams are also facing a bunch of different challenges in the form of a new patch, which is looking to shake everything up. So Dracos and Kate will run us through it.
All right, here's the deal. 12.3 is actually a pretty sizable patch, but as always, it's hard to know what is going to super duper impact pro and what's going to be, well, mostly a solo queue change. Ultimately, though, fighter itemization is where we have to start.
So many big changes. We'll start with items. Yeah, of course. Death Stance got changed. Now it feels like, the item itself gives you basically like a triumph when you get a kill. Depending on your bonus AD, you get a little bit of health every kill you get, similar to triumph, of course. And I think that the damage mitigation is kind of magic and physical now as well, instead of just physical on the bleed. Sterex gives you 40% of your base AD as bonus AD. So your base AD goes up throughout the game. So that means that around level 13 or 14, it should even out, but not the greatest of second items.
So the TLDR is if you want to stack health, sometimes Sterex is a better option. If you want to stack AD, you're probably actually going to get more out of Death Stance, giving you more of those options. Maw, just straight up better across the board. Blade, also straight up better in terms of that passive. Does cost 100 more gold, but overall a huge buff.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in the bot lane, a lot of premier options have been hit. Zeri just taken down a notch. You're not surprised why. If you played against her in solo queue, you are surprised if you've seen her in the LEC, because she's kind of sucked. But Kate and Senna also taking a hit.
Yeah, Caitlyn, one of the biggest hits, first big priority. Base AD is down, Q damage is down, push potential in lane a little bit weaker for the 2v2s. Senna, less stacks off the last hit she gets. I think Riot's trying to push Senna more towards a balance between support and AD rather than just, she's a marksman, right? Zeri got nerfs overall, hotfix on the Renans, now nerfs coming in towards her ultimate. And then we've got Akshan, which of course is not an AD carry, but still kind of like a marksman in the top lane. We've seen it in mid lane. Passive got nerfed. Yeah, and that's going to see how much that affects. Again, only 2 games. The really important role that we have to look at is mid lane, however. 3 of the biggest mid lane options have taken a hit. Corki, LeBlanc, and Twisted Fate all taken down a notch. Let's start with Corki, right? So we know Corki, 8 minutes, his package spawns. Herald spawns at 8 minutes as well. So pro teams, very simple first pick. Get package at 8 minutes, fight Herald with package. Easy days, happy days. The problem is now the package actually respawns at 5 minutes timer instead of 4. It lasts for 1 minute. So that means 6-minute intervals. Dragon spawns every 5, so it's very hard for Corki to fight around dragons and pick his package, and now it spawns at 10, so you can't fight those heralds either. Yeah, and speaking of that, it essentially means that you can get a package every other big objective, but you can't get it every single dragon, which is a pretty massive change. Twisted Fate, little hits on early laning things, like the attack speed on his E, as well as the wildcard clear, but small changes like that can affect mid lane a whole ton, so now we have to talk about the champions that are actually going to rise up. Yeah, I think when it comes to mid lane now, you've got so many champions taken out. TF and Corki won't be so much first pick, so does that raise priority in Victor and Orianna and Azir, these kind of control mages? Akali might be one of the high power picks for mid laners. I think there's going to be a big shift. We talked to Perks on Euphoria. He said the patch is pretty big. It's absolutely massive. Of course, one of the champions who has been hit on this patch is Ahri. Some pretty significant changes to her kit in terms of just straight up restating some of the changes. E is no longer a damage amp if you connect on Charm. That damage has been redistributed elsewhere in her kit. Her passive works a little differently, but the important half of it is if she kills a champion, she gets a decent chunk of healing. And most importantly, her ultimate can now give her extra dashes if she gets kills, or takedowns rather, during its duration. Yeah, I think she can get up to 6 stacks now on her ultimate instead of 3 every kill. We'll reset it, of course. And Ahri, we know, is like the Season 3, Season 4 mid lane with Gragas and LeBlanc, and you have to use Ahri E to cancel LeBlanc W skill matchup. Now I think it's more of a safe blind pick, take TP. Yes, she's more assassin-ish, but provides good wave clear, really good skirmish at level 6. And this last pick, I'm not going to lie to you, was not touched in the patch, but has been showing up in solo queue literally everywhere. It's a little bit degenerate in my eyes. I've called it the mid lane Yuumi, and it's one that someone on this desk has been abusing to great effect. It's you. Don't look away. We have your picture in the graphic. Yeah, that might be my solo queue match history. Well, Unforgiven tweeted it. He thinks all Zillion players are elo inflated. Now, maybe I am a little bit too from this champion. It's very simple. It's very easy. We've saw Bjergsen play it already, and with the rise of Ivern and Soraka mid, feels like these supportive mid laners, and of course the Corki TF nerfs, are actually rising in priority with meaty junglers. It's fantastic. Level 6, of course, brings you back to life. The problem is its lane phase is a bit weak, but I'm a Zillion connoisseur. Yeah, but naturally we are just keeping our eyes on the mid lane this week to see what the meta shakeups are going to mean. Ultimately, though, tomorrow, 2 Titans in European League of Legends will clash when Perks and Team Vitality face off against Humanoid and Fnatic in the LG Ultra Gear match of the week.
Vitality was embarrassed by Fnatic the last time these 2 teams met. This was not the super team we were all promised. They want revenge.
Are they gonna get him? No! Wonder! You absolute mad lad!
Done someone up, you find a pick, and hey, There just might be LeBron locked down. Upside now going to Gale Force forward, trying to finish the kill, but they don't quite have...
the snipe!
No! Self-made! Your eye on those potential Viego resets. Wonder waiting for an opportunity to go over the wall. He's knocked out Fari back into the team, but what will it cost him? Taken down. Razork now finding the reset. Carzzy in the retreat with no mana. Fnatic winning the fight for now, but Carzzy has found the resets. He's running out of mana, but it might not matter. Razork, though, coming in, finding the reset. The Viego is clutch. Humanoid is clutch. Fnatic will take the fight.
First week in spring is always deceiving, and Vitality have certainly shown that the star power on this roster is not to be disrespected.
0-3 first week, it sucks, but it's also like, it is what it is, it doesn't really matter, we just learn from it and we improve and we work hard. Funnily enough, despite people's expectations from the outside, I think that this team is the team that is most open-minded and easy to communicate with each other. Only good signs really.
We're now halfway through the spring season, and there shall be no more excuses for dropping games when playoffs are on the line.
We want to do good in regular season, it's important, but really what's important is just making it to playoffs.
I really feel like we haven't reached even 50% of our potential yet. I think most of the games we win through really dominant performances by individuals.
To get the 2v2 kill, I think Fnatic tried to push to get the level up, but XL got it first. Oh my god! What? He's in his head! How did he know he was there?
We have a lot to learn as a team still and really improve our team play.
You can see Vitality playing on 2 lanes here, splitting up. They're going to commit to this play on self-made. They're going to deny it.
Take it out straight away. There is a TP in the backside. That was massive! Out of nowhere, 3-man blast moonfall. Vitality have the push.
Wonder is just now entering the fight. Shot's buying as much space again as he can. Razork ultimate is falling away. Maybe they can get a kill back, but Wonder is doing so much damage in the back line. Here comes Humanoid with the ultimate, and Fnatic are going to take the fight.
Both of these teams were heralded as Europe's next big super team. Let's see who will live up to that moniker.
Vitality might have a lot of players that require attention, and if every lane is calling the jungler on every single wave, then that's not going to end well.
I respect the players a lot, I know their history, and I'm really expecting that when it comes down to it, the individual players will step up even more and they'll be a strong team. But they're going to be better.
What a great match of the week. 2 super teams, both perceived favorites to make it for sure into the playoffs and maybe even for much further. Not G2 though, it's Vitality tomorrow, the match of the week.
Yeah, we're going to see that one potentially later. But this matchup just excites me for so many reasons, mainly because the last time we saw these 2 teams played felt like a little misleading because it was during the time where Vitality were really struggling. And even then, ultimately, Vitality had a massive lead, but it felt like if they were more coordinated, if they were in a little bit better form, they could have closed it out. Credit to Fnatic for clawing that one back, but ultimately, it didn't feel like a real Vitality versus Fnatic full-strength match.
No, it didn't. It feels like the comp that Vitality drafted with the Twisted Fate, the Kiana, the Renekton. This is kind of like a 1-3-1, single target damage, get ahead early, snowball over sides. And as much as they did get ahead with the 6 to 7k gold lead, the top dive kind of backfired, giving the Gragas, Wunder of course, with this famous top dive, a little bit of leeway to be like, well, I can get more gold, more tank items. Here's a dive actually. More tank, more gold items to actually sustain that side lane a lot better. So it was kind of hard for Vitality to snowball the game. Can't really do Baron, can't catch the Gragas on side because he got kills to kind of even out the early to mid game. So they slowed down and Fnatic played fantastic around fights.
Yeah, and this was just a week full of a comedy of errors. And while
just want to show it again.
played this fantastic, ultimately, like, Vitality will look back at this play and count hundreds of things they could have done better in that instance. Not anticipating the passive coming in for Gragas. And again, credit to Wonder for playing it this well, but this Vitality that we've seen in recent weeks is not a team that would make these same mistakes again.
No, and I think that's what we really have to look at with this match of the week. Now that the teams both have a lot more games under their belt, and I would say for Vitality just last week, they made a couple of hiccups, but Fnatic, it's also not been spotless. So hopefully this will bring out the best in both squads.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's stacked across every single matchup. You go top, yes, Wunder versus Alphari. You go mid, Perks versus Humanoid. And Humanoid was winning titles while Perks was gone, and he's back, and he wants them.
That's the thing that I'm most excited for is Perks versus Humanoid. Ultimately, this is a matchup that we have to look up. You highlighted it. They haven't. It doesn't feel like Humanoid's been in full strength on a full strength roster. At the same time, Perks has been performing in the mid lane. Yes, he had that bot lane stint.
Yeah.
Yes, Mad Lions won some best of fives back in the day. But this finally feels like a rebirth of this rivalry on equal footing.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. It's also going to be so much fun today. Let's take a look at the schedule. As said, past the halfway point. So all these games have significant implications for the playoff races. I'm looking at XL Vitality, for instance, but also the last game of the day. We teased it just a second ago. G2 versus Mad. I mean, we're getting spoiled.
Oh, we definitely are. It's such a banger to start off. I mean, well, to end the day in that case. And I think that when you look at this matchup, you have to look at the jungle, because these are like, as much as I want to say Elyoya is like one of the veteran jungles now because he's won 2 titles, he's been to MSI, he's been to Worlds, he's done well, got out of groups both times. He's not so much of a veteran just yet. This is his 2nd year in the LEC. This is his 3rd split.
Look at this photo. I implore you.
The line is
Oh,
adorable.
That
Absolutely
is one
adorable.
of the best photos.
And Elyoya's team's changed, so has Jankos's, in different ways, where Elyoya now has a mid and AD carry that he needs to kind of, not so much babysit, but kind of neuter and make sure it kind of helps them a lot when it comes to the early to mid game, get them through the early stages, help them get a little bit more in their experience in their belt, whereas Jankos still has the staple of Caps by his side.
Yeah, indeed. Super interesting match. That's the last one of today, but now we are getting into the first match of the day between Misfits and Team BDS, a very important clash to start the second half of the season. And Ashley is joined by BDS's head coach, Grabs, live on stage.
Thank you, Sharks, and I'm joined here by Grabs, the head coach of BDS. Thank you so much for joining me. BDS did have an unfortunate week last week, going 0-2. How are you and the players feeling coming into week 5?
We're feeling pretty good. I think the last week's games are pretty good as well. Like against Matt, we should have won, I think, that game pretty clearly. Against G2, that is getting draft, but I think still we showed our improvement in the early game, so I'm very hopeful for this week.
Like, I remember the interview that Limited with Law on week 3, where he stressed fundamentals. You know, Grab is like stressing a lot about fundamentals within the team. What has been some of the things that you have been working with BDS in the last couple of 2 weeks?
As Limit said, still the fundamentals. I think we have shown against especially Rocket Mentality that we don't understand how to play on stacked waves. I think early game was just really rough, and last week we fixed that. So now it's more about how do we set up for Nash correctly, how do we actually fix sides, because I think that's a huge issue we had. So hopefully today we can show some improvements, but of course this is a process that takes more time.
And other than the in-game stuff, the contention for the playoffs still continues. And as BDS still lies in the middle of the pack, what have you been doing in order to keep the team motivation and motivated in order to stay in contention for the playoffs?
We just basically said we are grateful that we have this week because we have to go 2-0 to actually have a chance in playoffs, we believe, realistically. Yeah. So instead of being scared of it, we take it as a motivation more. And my jungler is screaming right now, so I can't really focus on the interview. But no, again, like we know we need to win both games, but that's something we are excited to do. It's not something that scares us. So just having this motivation and this chance actually to have a good spot is what motivated us to the week.
Yeah, of course, and that makes the Misfits game super important. BDS did lose to Misfits Gaming last time in the first round of LEC, so what's going to be your strategy or main point of attack on this time around in order to take the victory?
I think we're very flexible in draft about what we can do today. Also depends on what they want to first pick today because they're blue side. Ultimately, though, I think if we play the game a bit more stable, we should be in a better position to win. As in spring, I think most teams are still kind of bad in the fundamentals. And I hope that we can show today that if the game is not kill heavy, let's say 2-2 at 20 minutes, that we as the newcoming team have a better outlook on the game.
Thank you so much for the insights and best of luck for the upcoming game.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and back to you, Sharks, for the pre-match.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Lovely to see Grabs also in person again in the studio. And also welcome to our studio, Ashley. Great job. Yeah, it's just so cool. Seeing humans, you know.
Also, the players interrupting interviews in the background is so iconic.
Great, I miss
It reminds me of the spring finals and things like this, or semis when Jankos is like laughing and screaming when you're doing predictions and stuff.
That's what we do it for. But yeah, there Grabs talking about fundamentals, as I think is normal when you have kind of a newly formed team. Then you need to discover a couple of things about yourselves. But as said, the stakes are high. A very important match for both sides in terms of the playoff race. And I do want to call out a couple of things that maybe either of these teams have been doing well or can improve on. And we got to talk about Adam just a little bit after last week, especially that G2 game, of course.
I mean, I think that game was particularly disastrous. And a lot of people are just going to look back and say, hey, let's go next. This is not the one that we want to focus on. And while the highlight reels are great for showing that Adam might have things to work on, the entire season outside of week 1 has been rough for him. The fact that he died in this game is not the end of the world, but the fact that it's been so consistently underwhelming across all of their weeks except for week 1 is not a good sign for BDS. They need more reliable players. Drabs talked about it, drafting for something safer, more stable, and I think that would be perfect for Adam.
Yeah, if we look at the numbers, for instance, Adam hasn't participated in a kill or assist pre-14 minutes since that game versus Misfits in week 1. And I think aside from kind of the whoopsie daisy versus Broken Blade, that is something that is more concerning for that team as a whole.
Yeah, it definitely is. And you can look at this and you can be like, well, it's kind of a negative sentiment, but it's only natural when you look at his games because yes, when he's behind, he's playing bad as expected. But when he's ahead as well in their game against Mad Lions on Camille, he's got 6 kills, 1 death, gives a shutdown to Unforgiven, goes too deep. They have a fight in bot, goes too deep again and dies. And I feel like the criticism is merited just because of the performances. And I think, yes, it is a small sample size, 4 or 5 games we've seen, but we're getting to the second half of the season, of the split. He needs to start playing consistent so they can get some wins in.
Yeah, it's going to be so important. I want to look ahead and look across to their opponents, Misfits, as we will be covering the picks and bans here on the desk. When you look at standout players, we've said it at the top of the day already, Vitio, and it's just been such a joy seeing this player develop, right, in the time now that he's had in the LEC, where he was kind of a wild card into now someone who has to lead that squad.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's his second year now coming into LEC, his 3rd split as well, and he renamed his solo queue account to LEC Spring 2022 MVP. So he's feeling himself, he has the confidence, he's playing a very different style to a lot of the mid laners here. And as much as he's getting less resources because of the change in the jungle, I feel like that gives a lot of breathing room for Zlatan to be like, okay, my mid's winning, or he doesn't need as much help, or he's very kind of a very good individual, doesn't need too many resources. I can focus on myself more, which relieves a lot of pressure on him.
And I think we highlighted it earlier in the start of the show, but again, Vitio used to be a player who, yes, we knew he was good on the Zoe, but when Misfits were starting to rise again in the second half of last season, it was a lot because they just spent so many resources going mid, setting Vitio up for success. Now it feels like on his own, on an island, or with jungle support, he is always performing. And that's the level of consistency that's just incredible to see. And frankly, Misfits have been completely reliant on when it comes to finding these wins.
Yeah, and you can look at the games, you can look at the stage games, but even outside the game in solo queue, he got rank 1 so quick. He was 1,000 LP, one of the first players to get there. He's grinding so many solo queue games. I know he's also a very big fan of the LCK mid laners like Chovy and Showmaker, likes to watch a lot of their VODs, so he's very committed to making sure this team succeeds.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see, and it's also paying off because I think also for Misfits, maybe they flew under the radar when you look at the changes that came into Vitality or Fnatic, but this is a new identity for the team that they now need to chase and that they've seemed to already kind of found.
Yeah, and if you look at last year, they were 1 game away from making the World Championship, that Misfits roster. And they finished 4th place in the regular season, and everyone's like, wow, Misfits is a fantastic team. You fast forward to 2022 spring, they're still 4th place. Nothing's changed, right? You might think that Mad Lions, Vitality are on the rise, G2 and Rogue, Fnatic at the top. They're 1 win behind them, for God's sake, right? They're 1 win away from 2nd place. This team is having a fantastic debut, I think.
And when we look across the 2 teams as we just wait for Champion Select to get started, you do see that I think in the first half of the split, you had a couple of players who maybe have not hit the form that they wanted to, or the peaks, right? We're looking at Zlatan, who's trying to find his way. We're looking at Adam. I think in the same vein, we're also looking at Hirit across the other side. We have Syncroft, who's absolutely been doing phenomenal. So I want to see consistency out of everyone.
I completely agree, but I do want to go back to that top lane matchup because we highlighted the struggles for Adam, but Hirit has also been woefully inconsistent this season because, again, the highs for Hirit we know from his top lane best of 5 versus Ottawamne, where he ate a gank every single game, still managed to find a kill, was an absolute monster individually, was such a rock for Misfits, and outside of some Viego adjustments that might have come in a little bit sooner, it feels like he was actually a huge part of that success. That said, this season he has been a little underwhelming. So we talk about consistency for Adam. I want to see the same thing for Vitio because while Misfits did win the last game, Adam bodied Hirit in lane. Sorry, not Vitio, Hirit. And now I want to see if Hirit can have a better performance coming